If you're a hobby woodworker, a diode laser might be one of the tools that you're just missing out on. And I want to show you in this video how I used a diode laser to create this blanket ladder, and not using the diode laser to actually cut out the parts for this, but I created a jig that helped me through the woodworking process and helped me to just speed up the process, get a lot more accuracy in building it, and also set me up so I can create a lot of these ladders and replicate it quickly and efficiently. So what I want to show you is how I use xTool Studio to create this jig. And it's not just simply just a couple of holes on a piece of plywood. What this jig is I've calculated, or I used the software to create the angles that I wanted for the rungs of the ladder. And I wanted them on a specific pitch because I wanted this to kick off of the wall at a certain angle. And this jig is also set up to help me cut that angle without doing a lot of work with my tools like my table saw or miter saw and things like that. The holes that I cut out in this jig are set up to be used with my router and the collars the collar inserts that I have for my plunge router base. And this helps just to be able to cut out the mortises for the rungs, and the spacing is already set up in the jig, so that way I don't have to measure and try to line up each of those each of the mortises as I'm making them in the sides of the ladder. Alright, so here's how this is going to work. So I've got the jig, and whenever I use the router, it's going to go down inside of this, and this little collar right here is going to ride on the inside of this line. And as it does that, then the bit will cut exactly this shape. So the width of the jig is exactly the same as the stock that I'm using here. So I've got that size so that way it'll set completely flush. All I need to do is clamp this down, and then I'll be able to set the router on top and start cutting out each of the holes. And again, these are spaced exactly 10 inches on center from each other. So once I route out this one, I can go to this one and route it out, and then unclamp it, move my jig down, and then line it up with this hole. And then I'll be able to do the next one on down. That will be exactly 10 inches on center as well. Alright, so that worked out actually pretty good, so I'm excited. It's very clean, it's very crisp lines, so we're just going to continue to use the depth stop on the router to inch our way down and just make this deeper and deeper. I originally thought I was going to go all the way through, but I don't think I am. I think I'm just going to go just down maybe halfway and just make a dado and insert the rungs of the ladder with that. So here we go. Let's continue on. All right, that worked really good, and really happy with how the precision of these cuts are. It's like you did it with a CNC. So this jig does a really good job of positioning the cut exactly where you want it at. So to do the next side, all we got to do is just flip it over, and we'll use it to cut down the next side. So just reversing or mirroring the jig. So on this part, I just used the angle. I put this in the laser software for a 12-degree angle. So I'm just going to use this on my side of the ladder to mark the bottom cut, so that way it's at 12 degrees as well. And then to do the other side, you just flip it over and do the same thing over there. So I've got this one cut, so I'm going to go to the table saw and cut this one and make the final cut. So now we got it all glued up and clamped, and now we're just going to wait for this to dry. I didn't show a lot of it, but I did round over the corners with a 1/4 inch round over bit with my router. I've glued these together and they fit very well. I'm really happy with that and the way that the jig worked. I just glued it up and I cleaned up any squeeze out from the glue, and everything's looking good. So although I didn't totally use the laser to cut out all the pieces for this blanket ladder, the laser played an important role in creating this jig that made the accuracy just so much easier for the project and sped up my ability to do it. Like I've mentioned before, I'm not an expert woodworker by any means, but just having this laser really made it possible for me to do some of the more complicated cuts. So I hope this video gives you an idea of what you could do and maybe gives you inspiration on some other projects or jigs that you might be able to create. Leave me a comment if you want to see other types of videos or other jigs that I've created for woodworking projects, and I'll be sure to get those uploaded and added to the channel.